Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, I couldn't fix the camera issue with it being zoomed in too far for no apparent reason, but I did find that I could crop the video, which actually fixed the zoom problem. So there's that. Well, this is an unexpected stream. I really wasn't expecting to do this. I did not plan to do this. This was not part of the agenda. It really wasn't. And then I finished Socialism Saturday. And it went great. We had a great time. We've all decided that we need to search out Gerald G on the internet. If you don't know who it is, you need to go back and watch Socialism Saturday. Gerald is our new favorite socialist because he is an OG black communist and he doesn't give an F. And I love people who don't give an F. You guys know that. So I wrapped up Socialism Saturday. Went downstairs, found my husband bemoaning the fact that he went on a really tough hike today and was bemoaning how his body felt and how he's going to feel tomorrow going to a concert. And I was ready to just come up and my plan was I was going to make a socialist book list tonight. So there was going to be that. And I was really excited about it, and I had my book list ready from the Socialist Conference, and I was going to do a whole post about it. And then I was like, let's just take a little break. Let's just chill before we start. We just did a whole 3 hours of socialism. We can take a break before we start even more socialism. And I was like, I wonder what H.G. Tudor has taught about Meghan Markle today. Because, of course, as my community knows, H.G. Tudor is our favorite narcissistic psychopath. Okay, maybe he's just my favorite narcissistic psychopath, but I think Sin really likes him too. we talk about HG Tudor's work and his channel actually more than is probably reasonable within my community, because he is a real diagnosed narcissistic psychopath. I absolutely believe he is what he says he is, because I have read way more of his work than like a normal human being should, because not only is he a clinically like diagnosed narcissistic psychopath, but he is completely self-aware of what he does and why he does it. And quite frankly, when I got interested in HG Tudor, I got interested in it from the perspective of I was really kind of doing a lot of art of the trigger stuff at the time. And so I was thinking a lot about power plays and like mental like head games to play with people, and like basically I was thinking about how to trigger people like a lot, and that was just a topic that was, like, on my mind, and then I got introduced to HG Tudor through my friend Andrew Gold, who many of you know. Andrew's been on the channel a couple times, I've been on his channel. His channel is blowing up, he's doing such a good job. He's covering a lot of, like, Scientology stuff, he does a lot of stuff with cults. Andrew's actually probably one of the reasons that I called my show The Cult, because in our first ever conversation, we talked about how, like, all these groups are cults, and he was one of the first people to congratulate me when I got called an unwoke cult leader in the media. That was pretty great. Anyway, Andrew's a great guy. He's interviewed HG Tudor a couple times, and that was how I found out about HG Tudor. Was I think the first time he was on Andrew's channel, and I was like, "Holy F." And so I started listening to him and his content about narcissism, and then I discovered that he has written actual books about how to fuck with people. Like, HG Tudor has written entire books explaining the games that he plays with people, the way he will, like, get people to give him energy or attention. He calls it fuel. He has written about all of the tricks that narcissists play with their victims. I mean, it's just like, and it's fascinating. He's even written, and don't think I haven't taken advantage of this. He's even written a whole book about, like, if you find yourself in an entanglement with a narcissist, here is exactly and precisely how you get revenge on that narcissist. But you probably shouldn't do that, because that's a really bad idea. But if you were going to try to get revenge on your narcissist, here is exactly how you would do it. Wrote a whole effing book about it. He has written a tool called, I think it's or a book called, I believe it's called The Devil's Toolbox, which is quite literally about every single way, like every single game that he plays to like undercut people, or to like get people, like cause people like stress or anguish. Like, this guy has done some fucked up shit. And I say that in the most admiring way, because I I just think it's so great and so refreshing to read about someone saying, "Yes, I did cancel my girlfriend's birthday reservation at the really nice restaurant because she was being a bitch to me, and I wanted all the attention on her birthday, and so I canceled the dinner reservation that she made at her favorite restaurant to go out with all her friends, and then we showed up at the restaurant, and my girlfriend found out her reservation was canceled, and everyone was really upset because it was her birthday, but I had already made another reservation at a different restaurant across the street, for which I could take everyone over to that restaurant, and that way I would get all the attention on my girlfriend's birthday because I saved the day." This is actually something he wrote in his book, and I was like, damn. Anyway, I also like HG Tudor's content because it it has explained so much about narcissism that I studied narcissism in the workplace. I studied workplace bullying for a really long time. I have seen a lot of narcissism show up in that specific environment, but I hadn't ever really studied narcissism kind of like just in life in general. There, of course, is some overlap between the two, but because I'm an organizational psychologist, that's what I just focused in on. And so he actually helped me to understand a lot more nuance about narcissism than I had before. And he's helped me really to kind of differentiate what I think, what type of like when the woke left is being driven by narcissism, which I think some of them are, not all of them, but I think some of them are, and when they're being driven by something else, because I think it's very easy to say that the woke left is narcissistic. It's narcissism. It's narcissism. It's narcissism. And I think you absolutely can make that argument for like some of the people, definitely some of the more true believers on the woke left, absolutely. But I also think there's much more nuance to it, and I think sometimes people on the woke left, they do things that a narcissist would do, but they do them for different reasons, like completely different reasons. So they might end up in the same place, but I don't necessarily always care about where they end up. I care about how they got to that place and the decisions that they make, because I want to be able to predict what they're going to do next, right? And I want people to understand this. Like, if you want to know what someone is going to do in the future, because a lot of times we joke about the Carlin is right tip jar, and things like that. And I try to teach you guys like how I predict this stuff and how I know what people are going to do. If you want to know what someone's going to do in the future, it's not enough to know what they've done in the past. You have to understand the motivations behind what they did. So why did they do it? Because they may be confronted with a similar situation in the future, but not quite the same. And so you might end up with a completely different result because you didn't properly understand the motivation. You just looked back and said, okay, these two things are really similar. Well, on the face of it, they might appear similar, and I can understand that. But when you dig a little bit deeper, you understand that there's more nuance, and that allows you to predict what someone is going to do. So H.G. Tudor and his work really helped me to clarify my perspective on why the woke left does what it does, and when it's narcissism and when it's something different, and how to distinguish between the two. And I think it's actually made me much more effective at understanding the woke ideology and teaching the woke ideology. Anyway, so that's a little introduction to the narcissistic psychopath that we are going to be watching tonight. And I'll tell a little bit more about that in a second. But first, I'm just going to ruin H.G. Tudor's entire day because we're going to talk about someone else's birthday. Donnell is Donnell's birthday. So I hope everyone is having an awesome day, listening as long as I can while putting the kiddo to sleep. Happy birthday, Donnell. I hope you have a really, really wonderful day, or had a really wonderful day, I guess now. But really glad you got to spend some time with us. Everyone, please wish Donnell a happy birthday in the chat. Don't worry, HG Tudor's not here, so we're giving him enough attention tonight. He's not here or anything. If he was here, we would be giving him all the attention, because you don't want to give the birthday girl the attention. You want to give the narcissist the attention. But he's not here. We don't have to tell him, right? We don't have to tell him. All right. So I finished up Socialism Saturday, and I was ready to kick back and make a socialist book list. And then I was like, I wonder what H.G. Tudor said about Meghan Markle today, because he covers Meghan Markle every effing day of the effing week. And so I scrolled over to HG Tudor's YouTube channel, and I was like, what did he say about Meghan Markle? And oh, what's this? Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder, the narcissistic psychopath, covered Steven Crowder. And I was seriously sitting here and I said, motherfucker. Because I don't want to stream tomorrow, because I am going to Boston tomorrow to go see Placebo, which is one of my favorite bands. And I don't want it, not that I don't love you guys, but we spend way too much time together already. I wanted a day off. I don't want to stream tomorrow. But I was like, I really want to see what HG Tudor says about Steven Crowder, and I feel like I have some professional obligation to see this story through now because I've like fully committed to covering this Steven Crowder debacle, and I'm like, I can't like this is like seeing a teacher outside of school, is what this is. Because I'm not used to looking at HG Tudor and seeing him cover content that is like content that I'm also covering. He's supposed to be like a break. He's supposed to be the thing that I go to when I need to learn how to fuck with someone or I want to indulge myself with royal news and gossip. Though like that's like he's supposed to have that place in my life. And now it's like the streams have crossed. And so I had to decide to go live. And because if I'm gonna watch something, you guys are gonna watch it too. Like it's just the way it rolls. And so I decided that it would be an interesting exercise to watch the 3-part series, which tells me that the HG Tutor does believe that Steven Crowder is a narcissist because it's like a video in 3 parts. I thought that we would watch the series together and talk about it and react to it and see how much of it aligns with things that I've said and see how many insights he has that are different. And I think we should. Now, I would really, really, really love it if HG Tutor would also cover Candace Owens. That would be like the greatest thing ever. Can you guys all commit in the chat that if HG Tutor covers Candace Owens, you will all buy his book? One of his books. He's written like 50 of them. You will all buy one of his books as a thank you. I would really like him to cover Candace Owens. But we do have this, and you know, we have to be thankful for small favors. And I'm interested to see what he has to say. I am. And so that's what we're doing tonight, guys. Now, before we get into that, first off, it's a late night stream, okay? So I got to get my incense. I had one sitting here and it's disappeared, so I have another one, but got to get our incense, get our candles, make our chill location. Now, the rule for chill stream is, guys, that I don't want any bullshit or nonsense, all right? It's almost midnight. I don't know why you guys are in on a Saturday anyway. Like you have no life like me. Hang on. Just had to put it in the incense holder. So on chill stream, late night stream, what have you. But I would never get high on the internet. I don't know what you're talking about, bot. I don't know why you guys think that I get high on the internet. Like, come on. But for chill stream, for realsies, no bullshit, guys. Just relax, okay? We don't need to shit talk. We don't need to insult each other. We don't need to spam the chat. We don't need to whine. Can we all just relax and have a nice time tonight? I mean, am I asking too much? So just take it down a notch. All right? That's all I'm saying. Not that you guys are normally uppity anyway, but we're doing a Crowder stream, and so we might get some hooligans, you know, it's the way it goes. Just chill. All right? Just chill. We got some folks laying around. Yeah, that is exactly the attitude that I want tonight. All right? All right. So before we get into that, I have some other breaking news reports that I want to talk about because Twitter has been hopping tonight. Do you guys mind if I do breaking news real quick? And then I promise we will give HG Tutor the rest of our attention because it's very rude not to do so. But I have some other breaking news stuff I want to talk about happening over on Twitter because there's a lot of stuff going on. For instance, Gays Against Groomers has apparently sent a cease and desist letter to one of their former members, who his name is Marky, Marky used to be the chapter head for New York's Gays Against Groomers. I can still talk, I swear. For the New York chapter of Gays Against Groomers. And, well, Marky has had a little falling out with Gays Against Groomers. Marky is it's nearing 20 different people who have left Gays Against Groomers in the last couple of months. But Marky has definitely been the loudest about leaving Gays Against Groomers. He is airing all of his grievances on Twitter, and it is providing me with hours of entertainment, and I'm really enjoying it. And so I do plan on Marky is just like slowly releasing stuff over the course of a couple days. I actually wrote about this on my Substack earlier when he initially started releasing stuff, but he just keeps going, and I think it's wonderful. And apparently Gays Against Groomers is really unhappy about it, and they sent him a cease and desist letter. Now, another thing that I heard through the grapevine, and I definitely didn't hear this from Marky. Absolutely not. Marky would never violate a cease and desist letter. I absolutely did not hear this from Marky. But I was told by a little birdie that after all of my reporting exposing Jamie Mitchell as just one of the most toxic people on the entire internet, like Jamie Mitchell is the CEO and the most professional CEO of Gays Against Groomers. And I reported that all of her members, because they're not even employees, Gays Against Groomers doesn't pay anyone, but I reported that all of her members were leaving Gays Against Groomers, and they were all pissed off at her and they all hated her. And there was like a mass exodus of like 8 people all at once. And Jamie, of course, started a smear campaign against me on the internet saying I was lying and spreading all the same old shit. And I just kept reporting on all of the insanity. And as it turns out, people just kept leaving Gays Against Groomers. It's almost like when I said it was a toxic organization, I meant it. Anyway, after my reporting, my initial reporting on Gays Against Groomers, I heard from someone that was definitely not Marky that Gays Against Groomers updated their code of conduct policy in direct response to my reporting, because even though Jamie was pretending on Twitter that she wasn't upset about my reporting at all, even though she was pretending all day, every day for 3 straight days, tweeting about me literally incessantly all the time, like dozens of times. But Jamie didn't care about my reporting against Gays Against Groomers at all. Nope. But I was told by someone who is definitely not Marky that after my reporting, Gays Against Groomers updated its internal code of conduct policy to explicitly state that anyone who leaves Gays Against Groomers is not allowed to talk to people about what is going on at Gays Against Groomers. I'm sure it had nothing to do with me at all. I'm sure that Jamie was totally fine with my reporting. But that it is interesting to me that Jamie demands absolute silence from the volunteers in her organization that she pretends are her employees, but they're not, they're volunteers. And now she's demanding absolute silence if they leave, and demanding they don't come and share with me all of their documentation about what's really going on, because they've all been reading my reporting. And do you know what's really funny? And this is the last thing I'm going to say about this, because we need to turn our attention back to the star of the show. You know what's really funny is I said to the whistleblowers when because I spoke to like 7 different whistleblowers, I think, in the first batch of whistleblowers from Gays Against Groomers. And I said to them, I was like, what this reporting is going to do is it's going to plant a seed in the head of everyone else who is left to Gays Against Groomers. And if they weren't already thinking about leaving, I promise you that we have planted a seed that they are not the only ones who hate Jamie. And just to think about the fact that there might be greener pastures. And since then, just magically, it's as though I'm an organizational psychologist. It's as though I know how this stuff works out. Magically, people just keep leaving Gays Against Groomers, and they just keep releasing things. How could this possibly be? Jamie Mitchell is the most professional CEO in the history of CEOs. How could it be that all her volunteers, just one after the other, just keep leaving Gays Against Groomers if she is the most professional CEO? Anyway, so that happened tonight. There are a couple other things that happened, and I promise we're going to get into the main show in a second, guys. But it has been, Bot got blocked. Bot got blocked by that Fat Studies bitch. I think that was a big achievement for Bot. She was really proud of it. So that happened. Bot got blocked by her first socialist. And in an interesting turn of events, Ian Miles Chong has admitted that he's a grifter. This is one I didn't have on my bingo card for today, but I want to play you guys this sound because I think it's important. I think it's important to know who the grifters are in our movement. And apparently, Ian Miles Chong has admitted that Ron DeSantis is paying him $35,000 to shill for him. Let's listen. It's real quick.
Why all of a sudden you're... Ian, I'm curious as to why all of a sudden you're shilling for DeSantis.
Because he's paying me $35,000 a year. That's why.
Ian, I'm curious as to why all of a sudden you're shilling for DeSantis.
Because he's paying me $35,000 a year. That's why.
Ian, I'm curious as to why all of a sudden you're shilling for DeSantis.
Because he's paying me $35,000 a year. That's why.
Ian, I'm curious as to why all of a sudden you're shilling for DeSantis.
Because he's paying me $35,000 a year. That's why.
Ian, I'm curious.
I'm just saying that I have quite literally been saying for years, trying to tell people that Ian Miles Chung is a grifter. And when I say grifter, I mean real grifter. There are three types of people creating content on the internet. There are activists. Activists are actually trying to solve problems. There are entertainers. Entertainers are taking advantage of problems. They care about them, but they're never going to solve them because they're using problems to make money and maintain their status. And then there's grifters, and grifters will say quite literally whatever they need to say, whether they believe it or not, in order to make money. I am an activist, or I try to do my best because I'm actually trying to solve problems. Someone like a Matt Walsh is going to be an entertainer. Matt Walsh doesn't give two shits about solving the problems he talks about. He's using it to make money, maintain his status. I'd in fact say that of everyone at the Daily Wire. And then you have people like Ian Miles Chong, who will quite literally say anything they need to say in order to make money. If Trump was paying Ian Miles Chong, he would shill for Trump. Apparently, DeSantis is paying him, which kind of seems like a campaign finance violation to me. But I guess maybe it's okay because Ron DeSantis hasn't officially announced his presidential campaign. But apparently, now what Ian Miles Chong is going to do is he's going to come out and say, I was joking. That's not real. That's not real. Bullshit. Bullshit. I absolutely believe that Ian Miles Chong is the type of person to quite literally say the quiet part out loud and then pretend it was just a joke and he takes it backsies. No. I don't believe it for one red second. Ian Miles Chong is absolutely a grifter. Ian Miles Chong will say whatever he needs to say to make money. This has been true for a while. And I think this is a great question. Who else is DeSantis paying? I know there are people who legitimately like DeSantis. I do. And I understand why they do. I think that they're wrong and misguided and that Ron DeSantis is a statist. But I understand there are some people who organically like him. I think Chris Rufo genuinely likes him. You know, people like that. And I respect Chris Rufo. I respect his right to have that opinion. I disagree with him, but whatevs. I think there are people who genuinely like Trump. I think that most of the people shilling for one candidate or another, like actively, are being paid from somewhere. You know? Anywho, I think that's really all I wanted to talk about from the Twitters. Oh, last Twitter announcement. I found out, I looked into Red May because we were talking about Red May on Socialism Saturday. And Red May is our month of socialism coming out of that socialist group in Seattle where they do socialist content all month. And I have a really exciting announcement, guys. Our favorite Abolish the Family socialist, Sophie Lewis, is presenting for Red May. It's like our two favorite socialism things have come together as one. We get an extra special treat, and it's going to be an online presentation. I am clearing my schedule. Sophie, girl, I will make room for this presentation whenever this presentation is scheduled, May 7th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Fine. We will do Socialism Sunday. I will bump movie night for this shit if I have to. So, exciting news. The Red May schedule is being announced, and that's going to tell us what amazing socialist content we're going to be covering in the month of May. It's going to be great. All right, guys, let's get into the main event. Please mount that like button if you have not mounted that like button yet. I mean, you could, it really depends on how hard you want to mount it. You can gently caress the like button. You could, I don't know what you want to do to the like button. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. Anyway, what we are watching is Steven Crowder, commentary by diagnosed narcissistic psychopath H.G. Tudor. Now, for those who are new to this stream, just joining, I explained who H.G. Tudor was earlier. You can go back and watch, or you can just take my word for it that I really do believe he is a diagnosed narcissistic psychopath. I really do. He is either a diagnosed narcissistic psychopath, or he has spent so much time writing about being a narcissistic psychopath and making content about it that he has turned himself into one. Like there is no reality that I can see that someone who is not a legitimate narcissistic psychopath can turn out the sheer volume of content that this man has turned out. It is immense once you actually start looking at it. So I do believe he is what he says he is. Now, we're going to listen to his opinion over the course of 3 parts about whether or not Steven Crowder is a narcissistic. Well, I don't think he thinks he's a psychopath, but is he a narcissist? Here's what I think. Okay, let me tell you what I think, and then I'll try to predict a little bit of what I think H.G. Tudor is going to say. Do I believe that Steven Crowder is a narcissist? This might surprise a lot of people because I have absolutely come down on Steven Crowder's side in this whole dispute, mostly because I think it's disgusting that I'm going to say it. My opinion is that the Daily Wire and Candace Owens are running a smear campaign on Steven Crowder. I think that is where all of this came from. I don't think it came from Yasser Ali. I think, and again, this is just my opinion, I think that Candace Owens got someone who got in touch with Hillary Crowder, cajoled this footage out of her, and then because she doesn't want to have the blood directly on her hands, and the Daily Wire doesn't want to have the blood directly on its hands, and then they passed it over to an uber lefty journalist like Yasser Ali, because why in the effing world would Hillary Crowder go to Yasser Ali? That makes no sense. So I think they gave the footage to the Daily Wire and Candace Owens, or at the bare minimum said, which lefty journalist can we pass this footage to get it out there? And they said Yasser Ali. I don't know. Maybe they have some sort of relationship with Yasser Ali. I don't know. But it makes no sense that the Daily Wire did not have some hand in that to me. But they were never going to release it directly themselves because they don't want blood on their hands. But they wanted to be able to talk about it. You know, we saw that glimmer in Candace's eye. We know she wanted to be able to talk about it. And we also know, because she admitted this in her video, that she knew it was coming out. So I have generally taken Steven Crowder's side in this because I think what the Daily Wire is doing is just unbelievably disgusting. And I don't like smear campaigns. And I really dislike that we're being given a 3-minute piece of footage and about a marital problem. And I've done several streams about this. I'm not going to rehash that here. So I have generally taken Steven Crowder's side, which is why what I'm about to say might surprise people, because I think that on the internet, people confuse I think people automatically assume that I'm like a Steven Crowder simp or something because I'm taking Steven Crowder's side, and nothing could be farther from the truth. I call them straight. I call them like I see them. I don't have to like you. I don't have to dislike you to give you credit where credit is due or to say that you are wrong when you are wrong. I don't watch Steven Crowder. There have been times when I have watched him in like a long ass time ago, but mostly I don't. I think he's very smart. I think he's very funny. But I don't watch him. I'm not a fangirl. My husband is way more into him than I am. I think that Steven Crowder absolutely could be a narcissist. Now, I don't think that I don't use that as like a pejorative though, right? Because I'm not going to come out and insult someone with a mental health condition. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that there's anything I don't generally think things are good or bad. So like I don't say you're a bad person so you're because you're a narcissist. That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay? So I'm not saying Steven Crowder is an awful human being, but if I look at Steven Crowder's behaviors, I said this on my other streams, I absolutely believe that Steven Crowder has massive, 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 massive control problems. He needs to control the people around him. And that is a pretty big hint to me. And it really is, it's abnormal, the things that I've heard. It is disproportional and abnormal. I also think that the way he talked to his wife on that video, even though I'm generally on his side, and even though that does happen in marriage, I still don't think it was good. And that to me was an indication that, he can really be, quite frankly, an asshole. Now, does that rise to the level of fury that HG Tudor describes in his content? I don't know. I'm interested to hear his opinion on it. I really have no idea what he's going to say about that. I also have I know I'm not stupid, guys. Like I know that there have been a lot of people who have come out against Steven Crowder and talking about things that he's done. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean as much to me, quite frankly, because do you know how many people have called me a narcissist on the internet? And some of you might say, "Well, Carlin, maybe you are a narcissist." Well, no, I'm not, because I hate to break anyone's heart here, but I did actually wonder for a while. I really did. I was like, "Am I a narcissist? Huh. Maybe like there's so many people who are calling me a narcissist, maybe I am a narcissist." And so because I know a lot of psychologists and stuff like that, I actually went and talked to a couple of them who specialize in this area, and I said, like no big deal, but like can you just tell me? And they said, and we had like short conversations, and they said universally, "Carlin, you're not an effing narcissist. Like, calm the hell down. The fact that you are questioning that you are a narcissist, like seriously questioning if you're a narcissist, is proof in and of itself that you are not a narcissist, because a real narcissist is never going to question if they're a narcissist. Either they are the type of narcissist that is an unaware narcissist, and therefore they are never going to question it, or they are fully aware that they're a narcissist and they don't see anything wrong with being a narcissist, so they aren't really going to care. So if you are seriously questioning whether or not you are a narcissist, then that is proof in and of itself that you are not a narcissist. And I heard this from multiple people. And by the way, this is what HG Tudor says as well. So I'm sorry to disappoint. I'm not a narcissist. But my point is that I don't necessarily, if you have a lot of people that are saying, he's a narcissist, he's a narcissist, he's a narcissist, that to me is not necessarily proof that he's a narcissist. He may have a tone, he may have an attitude, he may do things that people don't like, but that's not the end all be all of if he's a narcissist if other people don't like him. Well, I guess you've heard of me now. You subscribe to the channel apparently, so I guess welcome, chill, relax. But I do think there are things that Steven Crowder does that absolutely could mean that he is a narcissist. I also just think in general, I hate to throw that label around, but I think in general, most content creators on the internet are probably narcissists. I mean, Joshua said to me one time, he said, Carlin, you have to have some narcissistic tendencies to be able to look into a camera every day and say, you know what, I'm worthy of people listening to what I have to say. There is something to that. I also think that Steven Crowder, places a disproportional amount of emphasis on his looks. I mean, so some people were telling me, and I'm not suggesting the chest surgery he had was elective because we don't know, but some people were saying that the reason that Steven Crowder had surgery was because he didn't like the way his chest looked. It seems a little extreme to me to have a surgery that could potentially, and did in this case, literally almost kill him. I probably wouldn't have cared to have that surgery, you know? And so that to me is a little weird. It's a disproportional emphasis, but also that's something that just exists on the conservative right. Conservatives tend to put a much higher emphasis on how people look rather than kind of the merit of what they're saying. So maybe it's a conservative thing, maybe it's a narcissist thing. I don't know. So I guess I'm kind of coming down on the side of I think that it is extremely likely that Steven Crowder could be a narcissist. I'm not 100% there. I am going to assume that HG Tudor does think that Steven Crowder is a narcissist. A, because he wouldn't cover him if he didn't think he was a narcissist. But B, he's also got a 3-part series. So he had about half an hour of things worth to say. So just, practically speaking, I am going to guess that HG Tudor thinks that Steven Crowder is a narcissist. Now, what I'm interested to hear is why does he think that? I think he's going to be able to pretty clearly identify the control issues. I'm interested to see how he interprets that clip. And I'm interested to see what type of narcissist HG Tudor thinks Steven Crowder is, because I think that Steven Crowder is so smart. Like, scary, scary smart. And so I'm interested to see what and not in a way that's obvious. Like, you have to listen to Steven Crowder for a little bit to understand how, I mean, just really, like, the amount of information that this guy consumes and is able to retain is very impressive. And so I'm interested to see kind of like what type of narcissist HG Tudor thinks he is. My guess is going to be like a mid-range narcissist, middle upper maybe. I could be wrong about that, but I guess we'll see. So guys, let's get into it and let's find out what the real narcissistic psychopath thinks of Steven Crowder and this entire situation. I'm so fascinated. I'm thrilled that he covered this. HG, please cover Candace Owens next. Please cover Candace next. All right, is my sound set up? Yes. All right. Now, because he's anonymous on his YouTube channel, so the only thing we're going to hear is his voice, just for people who have not listened to him before.
Steven Crowder, narcissist? Well, hello, I'm HG Tudor, and Steven Crowder has found himself the subject of many news articles, online commentary, and videos. revolving around the disclosure of a video where he berates his wife. More on that presently. Judging by the response in my inbox, many of you are curious to know, are we witnessing a narcissist? Well, as you know, to make that determination, we need to look at some evidence. And we need to look at a lot of it. And we need to look at it over a period of time, not just one-off instance. Many people, of course, having accessed my work and watched the video, have thought, this guy could well be a narcissist. Let's ask HG. Sensible move. Of course, by looking at that video, you can't make a determination just on that. You need to look at other stuff. But who is Steven Crowder?
See?
Well, he's
hang on. Even the narcissistic psychopath is saying that you can't judge someone based on one video. For every single person who has been in my comment and my Twitter feed for days saying, he's obviously a narcissist, Carlin, the literal narcissistic psychopath is telling you idiots that you cannot judge someone based on a 3-minute video. My God.
American-Canadian political commentator, comedian, and media host. Early in his career, Crowder worked for Fox News, and he posted satirical videos on conservative media platforms. He then began hosting Louder with Crowder, a daily political podcast and YouTube channel with commentary and comedic content. It includes a recurring segment called Change My Mind, in which Crowder invites passers-by to converse. Crowder's YouTube channel has been demonetized twice. First in 2019.
Is he reading from Wikipedia? Oh no. This could go horribly wrong if he's reading from Wikipedia. Okay, let's see.
After repeated use of racist and homophobic slurs.
Oh yeah,
his channel was remonetized after YouTube said Crowder addressed his behavior and content. And it was demonetized again in March 2021, with uploads suspended for a week after violating YouTube's presidential election integrity policy for advancing false claims about the election's integrity. YouTube suspended the channel again for 2 weeks in October 2022 for violating its harassment, threats, and cyberbullying policy. The channel had 5.94 million subscribers as of January 2023. On March the 3rd, 2023, Crowder announced on Russell Brand's show that he would be removing his show to Rumble. Is this a retreat because he feels that YouTube is repeatedly threatening his sense of control? Or is this simply an individual that feels that that's a better platform for him and his views?
I think that's an individual who wants to make as much money as possible, and they know that Rumble's not going to bend him over and fuck him like YouTube does all the effing time. And he knows that his fans are loyal enough to go with him. I mean, but you could say that that's like a narcissist thing, right? To really think that you can bring your 5.94 million people like with you over to Rumble. Some might say that would be a pretty narcissistic assumption, but in Steven Crowder's case, I actually think it's like correct. Steven Crowder's fans love him. Although he did only get, I heard a rumor that he got like 58,000 people to sign up for Mug Club, which is a lot. What is that, like $10 million or something like that? Like, I mean, it's not like he's not in the poorhouse or anything, but I wonder, like, how did the number of people who signed up for Mug Club align with what Steven Crowder expected? Still a lot of like effing people though.
And just got fed up with YouTube. Certainly, he invites controversy, which of course is one way of getting lots of views. There's plenty of material about him which demonstrates that he is a controversial character. He started off as a voice actor at the young age of 12 and then began performing stand-up comedy at age 17. He acted in a number of films, including the role of Doug Moore in the 2009 movie To Save a Life. And then from 2009 to 2012, he worked for Fox News. By 2009, Crowder regularly posted satirical videos on politically conservative media, and later at Andrew Breitbart's Big Hollywood. Crowder served as the Master of Ceremonies at the 2011 Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, and generated some controversy.
Wait, Crowder was the MC at CPAC? Did he do something to make sure that nothing like that would ever happen again? I mean, I know this was a long time ago, but I'm guessing what H.G. Tudor is about to tell us, that when Crowder was the MC at CPAC in 2011, he did something so controversial that CPAC learned a lesson. Because he would never be the MC of CPAC today. That would never effing happen.
With a rap video he premiered at CPAC 2012. So a little bit of a background about who he is, because there may be many people, particularly outside of the United States, who aren't overly familiar with who he is and what he does. So he's a broadcaster, he's a presenter, he's a YouTuber, he's a political commentator, and he's certainly got plenty of people watching his videos. Accordingly, this is somebody who likes to be in the spotlight. Now, that doesn't make somebody a narcissist, but it might suggest that he has an appetite for fuel, that he has a need, either knowingly or unknowingly, for people to comment.
You're so close to
in
Candace.
relation to what he talks about.
So close.
That he needs to provoke people, that he necessitates a response. Or it might just be the case that he's not a narcissist, but he does those things because that's part of showmanship, that it's part of what he's created, that he adopts a persona for the purposes of entertainment.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, this is something I don't think people understand. Who people are on YouTube is not necessarily who they are in real life. This is another reason why I'm really reticent to call anyone a narcissist on the that does content on the internet, even though I do think that there is something narcissistic, and I'm even saying this about myself, of looking into a video camera and saying, listen to what I have to say, right? Fine. But you can have narcissistic traits without being a narcissist. Those are two different things. And I don't think people talk about enough, this idea that people put on a persona. This is a persona. Now, this is not to say it's not authentic to who I am. I like to think I'm just a slightly amped up version of myself on YouTube. I'm not a completely different person in real life or anything. But you do have to, there's a show, there's comedic timing, there's dry humor, there's sarcasm, there's ranting, sometimes there's yelling. You guys love it when I yell at people. Come on. Some people come into my chat specifically to make me yell at them, emphasize I'm looking at you. So there's a showmanship to it that does not necessarily mean that I sit on my couch with my husband and I talk with my hands like this, because that's something I only do when I'm doing showmanship. So I'm glad he explained that to people, because who Steven Crowder is on camera might not necessarily be who he is in real life. Now, he could be better in real life. He could be worse in real life. Same thing, I guess, with Candace Owens. Maybe behind the scenes, Candace Owens is the nicest person that you could ever meet and is a total pussycat and is definitely not the raging cunt that she comes across as online. Maybe she's just Now, I'm going to say that I have heard some stories about Candace behind the scenes that make me question whether or not that could possibly be true. But maybe. Who knows? Who's to say? Let's keep going.
I'm going to be examining a raft of material about him to make a determination as to, is he a narcissist, and also to look at his school in Cadra if he is one.
His chest doesn't look concave.
Remember,
is this after the surgery?
Look at a wealth of material, and in looking at that material from lots of different sources, I make a determination as to whether we are seeing behavior that accords with flagging instances of a sense of entitlement, absence of emotional empathy, instances showing poor accountability or a lack of accountability, evidence that demonstrates grandiosity, magical thinking, haughty behaviors. I'm looking for manipulative behaviors that go on. I look at whether the individual concerned recognizes boundaries or fails to do so, and I'm looking at the various aspects of the narcissistic dynamic. Now, many people can score in relation to those heads here and there, but it doesn't make them a narcissist. They have to do so consistently, and they have to do so over a sustained period of time to get over that threshold. So that's what I'm going to be examining. So we've got material, for instance, in relation to the dispute that he had with Daily Wire. There's also the fact
he's going to talk about the Daily
repeatedly
Wire
violated
Christmas.
online policies at YouTube. Might this suggest
hang on. Come on. You cannot hold against Steven Crowder that he violated online policies at YouTube. That's just not. I can buy some of the Daily Wire stuff, and I'm really glad he's gonna talk about that. But you aren't going to convince me that Steven Crowder getting strikes on his YouTube channel is an indication that he's a narcissist. I disagree politely.
Individual who operates with a sense of entitlement and has no regard for accountability. Perhaps he's somebody that doesn't give a fig about the boundaries that are set by the policies and does what he wants. Or is it simply the case that he sails a bit close to the wind and therefore infrequently violates those policies? Maybe he's the victim of a witch hunt because of his politics and his Christianity.
Yes. Well, not Christianity, politics.
I'm going to be analysing the comments that he made about Fox News host Sean Hannity, because he had a bust up at Fox News also. Is this an...
You cannot hold it against Steven Crowder that he shit on Sean Hannity. No. Sean Hannity is far worse than Steven Crowder. The fact that he shit on Sean Hannity makes him a hero, not a villain.
Individual that always gets into verbal, possibly even physical altercations, no matter where he goes, because he has a need to assert control over people, and their behavior threatens his sense of control? Or again, is it just that people give him a hard time because he is forthright in his views, that he exercises freedom to speech, and certain people just do not like that? I'll be looking at the December 2012 union protest, where he was involved in a physical altercation, but also the fact that the material that he put out there showed an edited video of the incident that he put on his YouTube channel, and that the fuller version that was unearthed shows a somewhat different portrayal of what went on. Is this an individual that revises history in that way to make himself look better? There's the threat of lawsuits with Candace Owens, which needs examination. And of course, I will be addressing...
No. You cannot talk about the lawsuit with Candace if you don't talk about Candace, HG. Okay, he's a narcissistic psychopath. He can do whatever the F he wants. I can't obviously control him, but it's just so unfair. I want him to talk about Candace so bad.
2 pieces of footage, at least, maybe others as well, but certainly I'll be looking at the instance where he announces that his wife is divorcing him. Why does he feel the need to tell the world that that's happening, a private event? Why not just keep it to himself and deal with it? Why does he feel motivated to tell everybody? Is it because he's used to living his life in the public eye and therefore shares those things? Or is it that he needs to somehow assert control over his wife because she's threatening his control by divorcing him?
Yes.
And he needs to have a cry, in effect.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. I said in one of my streams that Steven Crowder was taken out of control by his wife because she filed for divorce when he didn't want her to file for divorce, and now he's exerting control over the situation to like rein it back in, which is exactly something that a narcissist would do. Excellent. I got that one correct.
A pity play to his audience. The content of that video, I've already watched it, is rather interesting in terms of what he says and gives us particular insight into what he may well be. And then, of course, examination of the video where he berates his...
Hang on. You're allowed to be here, comrade, but don't spam my chat, all right? I'm not asking too much. Just don't spam the chat. Chill. This is chill stream. We're not acting out of school right now.
8-month pregnant wife. A breakdown of what he says, what it shows us, and where that takes us to with regard to the determination of, is Steven Crowder a narcissist? So, get this video shared so people can start to understand what's really behind this person's behavior, and look out for presently my analysis of.
Okay, well, I guess he was just laying the groundwork in this first video. Moving into part 2. Yeah. This very well could happen. The HG Tudor could just be fucking with all of us, and he's going to come out and say he's not a narcissist. That would actually be hilarious. I would actually be shocked if he did that, because I don't know. I mean, I don't tend to actually listen to his content analyzing people. So maybe he has done this and I just don't know. But I don't know that I've ever heard him analyze someone that he hasn't said is a narcissist. So maybe he just got like a metric F ton of emails and he was like, well, I might as well cover it. It'll give me views. I mean, like, I mean, respectable decision if he did, but it would be the greatest troll that has ever been if HG Tudor did a 3-part series about Steven Crowder. And at the end of it, he was like, no, he's not a narcissist. I would love that.
Steven Crowder, narcissist? Part 2. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. We're going to examine the evidence to make a determination as to whether Steven Crowder is a narcissist, and also pick through some of the video footage as well that shows his behavior. But first of all, we're going to go back in time, because as I explained, in order to make a determination as to whether somebody's a narcissist or not, we need to look at a range of evidence, but it needs to also come over a period of time. And we're going to roll back to December 2012. Here, Steven Crowder attended the Michigan Right to Work rally and protest, where he was assaulted. This is an article.
I don't know anything about this incident, so I'm learning about this for the first time. I was a Democrat back then. I wasn't watching this nonsense.
That comes from Forbes, and it provides us with further insight into his behaviors, so I can break them down for you. The journalist, Gregory S. McNeil, spoke with Crowder by telephone to flesh out some of the details surrounding the incident. Crowder, who attended the rally and protest on his own to document the event, was...
Hang on. So Milo is making a great point in the chat that I just want to point out and comment on. Those who have ever watched Change My Mind would not believe he's a narcissist. He is much too patient, understanding, and giving to others he's talking to. I think this is a really fair point because, I mean, you have to extend a rather extreme amount of patience, particularly with the people that Steven Crowder is interacting with in that series. And I don't know if a narcissist could do it. I really don't know if a real narcissist could do it. So that's a really good point. I hadn't actually thought about that, Milo. Thank you. Scott says, why do people always immediately say someone is a narcissist and tell a story about how they dated one? I mean, I think that narcissist is a convenient label to throw around at people. I actually think it's awful that people throw it around too much. I mean, like, if you're really a narcissist, you can't actually help that. It has to do with how you were born and how you were brought up. And so I think it's actually kind of mean to use it to, like, you know, disparage someone or like insult someone. Like, they can't help it. They are what they are. And quite frankly, a lot of narcissists are really successful in the world because they're narcissists. Like, I'm sorry, Donald Trump is a narcissist. That's how Donald Trump got elected president. He's a narcissist. And so, like, it's not necessarily the detriment that people think it is. Now, you're going to be an asshole. You're going to treat people real bad sometimes. There'll also be times when you're treating people really good. Maybe you teach people lessons they need to learn. Some of the greatest lessons I've learned in my life are from narcissists. I'll tell you that. So I don't like that people use it as an insult, to be honest. But it is a real thing, and it's a thing that people should be more aware of. And trust me, like, if you ever encounter a narcissist in your life, and I know I've had 2 that I've been in relationships with. kind of like looking back in retrospect, and they repeated the same pattern almost to an effing T. And I'm really grateful that I have much more understanding about it now, because it's going to help me to never get into that situation again. Because I paid dearly both of those times for being in that situation. And so, I mean, I think it is something that people do need to be aware of, but I think that people should just take a more detached perspective to it and just say it is what it is, you know? Well, and then Jacques is making an interesting comment as well. Narcissists are the most patient people in the world when they think it will show them in the light they want to be seen. This is exactly how they fool so many people. That is a really great point, Jacques. I don't think that every narcissist is capable of doing that, though. I would imagine that only the like higher, the like upper level, more advanced narcissists would be like capable of doing that. I don't think the lower level narcissists would. But I do think it's a really good point.
Was not present at the invitation of or sponsored by Americans for Prosperity or Fox News, although Fox News was aware that he would be covering the event. This suggests, therefore, that he has turned up to something uninvited.
It's a public event.
That is a lack of boundary recognition. Now, remember, it's important for you to keep.
You're allowed to go to events. That's like me saying that's kind of like saying that me showing up at that socialist conference 2 years. Gosh, I'm obviously tired. 2 weeks ago, it's like saying that me going to that socialist conference 2 weeks ago was me going uninvited. Well, no, it's like a public event that anyone could register for. You can go to events. What am I drinking? I'm sadly not drinking alcohol anymore. I had 2 beers on Socialism Saturday, but I'm drinking water now, so you can't even blame. I even have some of my beer sitting here still. Can't even blame alcohol for me stumbling over my words tonight.
Keep in your minds as we work through this evidence that many people who are not narcissists will engage in behavior which is narcissistic, but doesn't mean that they are narcissists. So people can fail to recognize a boundary, but that doesn't make them, per se, a narcissist. Somebody can act with a sense of entitlement. It doesn't mean, per se, that they are a narcissist. So many people, where we would analyze their behaviors, we would see some scoring of narcissistic indicators, but they're not narcissists. So keep that in mind. So that when I state, for instance, a narcissistic indicator, that's all it is. An indicator. It doesn't mean that he's a narcissist. So if you're thinking, oh, but hang on, HG, just because he's done that, you know, he might be doing it for this reason, that reason. Absolutely. The driver may not be narcissism, but the effect is still a narcissistic indicator. But we need to see if, through all of this evidence, there is enough to show that he gets over the threshold to be shown to be a narcissist. Accordingly, turning up to something that he wasn't invited is a lack of boundary recognition. Is it his narcissism that's driven him to do that? Or it might be, for instance, that he deems that it's appropriate to do so uninvited because the event ought to be covered. Crowder was located near the Americans for Prosperity tent, which, in his words, was torn down with women and possibly children still in the tent. Crowder described an event that turned into a melee, with protesters surrounding him and hundreds of right-to-work proponents. The footage, shot in HD, has allowed bloggers to take multiple screen captures of his assailant and of the assault itself. Crowder provided me with one screen capture, clearly showing him being punched in the face. Crowder contends that despite being assaulted, I did not hit anyone. I did not commit an act of violence against anyone. Whether that's correct, the video evidence would bear that out.
That's not real.
As for whether he instigated the assault or whether the assault may have been justified, Crowder said, I absolutely instigated it by being present when they didn't want me there, and by asking them why they would be opposed to right to work. In doing that, I guess I've warranted being assaulted. That is what I've been told by commenters on blogs and on Twitter. They also say I wasn't hurt badly enough to be complaining about the assault. At first, this might sound like some form of contrition and acknowledgement of accountability, but it isn't. What he's basically saying is, I turned up, and in their minds, that was enough for them to assault me. Is he telling the truth? And if so,
I mean, he is probably telling the truth to that. I've been to enough of these events and have had enough people come after me at these events that I know that they really do that. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the truth. I also think that, you know, Steven Crowder isn't above saying something stupid that he knows is going to provoke them because he wants to get that footage for his show. Emphasize! We were just talking about you earlier, Emphasize. I cover my bases. Everything I do is for a reason. I only super chat so the people that have me blocked hear my views when read out loud, and you don't get a subscription when you block me. You call my views trolling instead of valid. I think, Emphasize, I think if we're going to have an honest conversation, and I do appreciate the super chat, you know, Emphasize, you're a character. You are a character. I will say that. I have to give you credit for that. But you troll me in the super chats and don't tell me you don't. And I think you do it. And I say this with, you know, you're a member of the channel, fine. I say this because I think you like it when I yell at you. That's okay to like. Bot likes it when I yell at her too. When I yell at someone, I do it with love. I just think that you troll in the super chats. That's all. But I appreciate the super chats. I do. I appreciate the channel membership. I ain't gonna complain. Let's, you know, just keep it nice, Emphasize. Just keep it nice. See, Bot likes it when I yell at her too, okay? You're not the only one. It's all right.
his sole presence shouldn't be sufficient for people to assault him. He shouldn't merit being assaulted just because he's exercising his right to turn up somewhere. Or would he know that there was a risk of this happening and he reveled in it? Because, of course, getting people's reactions would provide him with fuel and a further opportunity to triangulate those who have assaulted him.
Hang on. See, now Emphasizer and I are having a chat. I don't think you just troll. I think you hang around. I'm not saying anything bad, bro. Like, I don't think you just troll. I do think that, and I think you agree. I think you, you know, I'm not saying you make shit up just to troll me. I think you believe the things you say. I just think that sometimes you troll me. That's all. Emphasize. I'm sorry if I offended you. Look, Reagan said, Carlin's chat wouldn't be the same without Emphasize. All right, Emphasize? Do you want attention too, Greg? Not to yell at you? Greg likes more gentle attention. That's okay, because it's chill stream tonight, guys. I mean, if you're going to troll me, paying me money to troll me is generally considered to be like the best possible troll, right? It's like when Carrie Smith's Horde like paid money to join my community so that they could see stuff that I was posting that I didn't want them to see. That literally happened, by the way. Carrie Smith's Woke Cancel Horde, several of them legitimately paid me money to join my community just so they could get the behind-the-scenes posts and put them on Twitter. Anyway.
With his audience. Crowder posted photos to his Twitter account showing a chipped tooth and minor cut to his head. Why doesn't he keep this
You're
private?
in the canoe, Emphasize.
Does he feel a need to document everything that's happened to him? Or is it fair play for him to do so? Because that's part of what his channel and platforms are, that he has a voice to talk about events such as this, and therefore he's justified in showing to the world, look, I attended this event, I was assaulted, and look, I've been injured. In the video, no police can be seen, and Crowder noted that there was not a single cop to be found, not one. I was there for about 5 to 10 minutes after the assault.
That sounds right.
Then I was assaulted a second time when the man yanked me from behind near the tent.
That absolutely sounds right. I can't remember a single time that I've been at an event or something like that where the cops have ever been around. So yeah, that sounds correct.
Tent was down. I had no protection. I was thinking there would be a police officer there to take a statement.
Nope.
Instead, people surrounded me and followed me to my car, making threats, and I had to get out of there. To date, Crowder has not filed a police report. He is instead hoping that his assailant will turn himself in. Is this him exercising responsibility, allowing the man to turn himself in, rather than him going to the police? Or is this perhaps some facade management? This man has two choices. We are going to find him. He can come forward and confess, and he will go to jail, Crowder said. Or option number 2, he can face me in the People's Octagon, and all the money raised to find him will be donated to his union of choice if he beats me in a legally sanctioned mixed martial arts bout.
Are you serious? Steven Crowder challenged a guy who beat the shit out of him at an event to a mixed martial arts contest. You know what? Good for him. I mean, it kind of looked in that picture, it looked like that guy was older, so I'm not sure that that's, necessarily a fair match, but okay.
Is this showmanship? Certainly looks that way, which demonstrates grandiosity. He can go to jail or he can fight me legally, and if he wins, he can get a huge payday for his union of choice. Crowder stated that he has some martial arts training.
Crowder just wanted to beat the shit out of him. That's funny. That's definitely something Steven Crowder would do. Do I think that's a narcissist thing, though? Do I think that's a narcissist thing? No, I don't think that's a narcissist thing. I don't actually think that this has anything to do with like Steven Crowder feeding his ego by like beating up some guy. I don't think it has to do with that. I think Steven Crowder is doing his brand of comedy and putting on a show. And he knows we love this stuff. Come on, that is a great troll. He knows we love this stuff. He knew it would play well online. Am I a socialist? Bro. Guys, please respond to Keaton here in the chat and let him know if I'm a socialist or not. So I don't think that I don't think this has to do with narcissism. I think this has to do with putting on a show. Are you not entertained?
Much of which he did not use while being assaulted, because in his words, I believe that if I would have defended myself, I would have been killed where I stood. Is that a somewhat contrarian view, that if you defended yourself, you would have been killed? Following today's events, Crowder said, I will give this man an allotted period of time after making the challenge. If he doesn't come forward, I will go to the authorities, file a report, and bring him to justice, issuing a threat. As for whether he will file a police report or sue, Crowder said he did not file a police report because he lives over an hour away. It was a timing thing. I had to get back and offload the footage. I also have no interest in or energy to devote to suing this person, even though that's what people want. Some critics of Crowder contend that he has not been transparent by only releasing selected video clips. Is this a revision of history? To which Crowder responded, all of my videos, everything I upload is short and edited. I've been doing this for a long time. I have a catalogue of several hundred videos. If people think it's out of context, I would encourage them to look at the hours of footage from hundreds of different angles to see this was not an isolated incident. He continued, if we need more context, I'm more than happy to provide it. We are here in the interest of transparency. We keep the phones and cameras going. They smash it out of your hands. One particular...
Hang on. Keaton says, the video I saw earlier gave the impression that you were a socialist. No, I'm sorry to disappoint. Then the YouTube algorithm just keeps showing me your videos. I opened this one and I've been here for 5 minutes and wasn't quite sure. So Keaton, every Saturday on this channel, we do something called Socialism Saturday, which I want to encourage everyone to come watch Socialism Saturday. Trust me, like you're going to learn so much more on Socialism Saturday than you are on Steven Crowder content. We're doing the content because I'm interested in the psychology of it, but you're going to learn more on Socialism Saturday. Socialism Saturday is when we watch real socialist content to find out what the socialists are saying and what they're thinking. This is the real stuff, the farthest left of the far left, the most dystopian stuff you will see on the entire internet. And we watch it from start to finish. We watch long form presentations so we can hear them in their full form. And we do that to learn what the socialists are thinking and how they, and their language and their culture and what their plans are. And it's crazy, bro. And so that's what you're seeing when you're seeing socialist videos or Socialism Saturday pop up in my feed. I'm not a socialist. I'm an anarcho-capitalist. And so I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm anti-socialist. But I like listening to them because it's really, really, really effing dystopian. Shannon says, you should make a 3-part series at the end in which you conclude you are not a socialist. I mean, I really like capitalism. Capitalism is the best.
The section of video has drawn scrutiny. At 33 seconds, 2 individuals are seen aggressively approaching Crowder, one of whom has been identified as Tony based on the name on his jacket. After Tony and his companion approach Crowder, there is an editorial cut. Then Crowder is heard saying, "You just assaulted me, buddy." I asked Crowder why that initial assault was edited.
Mary,
he responded,
sorry.
"The camera pans away because the camera was jostled. The cameraman was shoved around too. A bunch of people..."
Oh gosh, emphasize coming in. Emphasize it. Now down to brass tacks. When my lawful views are labeled as finable or jailable hate speech instead of valid, while others' unlawful views are legalized, give me liberty or give me death becomes necessity. But what views are illegal, emphasize? You still have free speech in this country. Now, you might not like the consequences of it, and God knows I haven't liked the consequences of me expressing perfectly legal views, like everyone goes to heaven and there is no hell, so Hitler can't go there. But what views are not legal for you to express? You can express any views you want. You just might not like the result of you expressing whatever views you want. With all due respect, only HG can challenge Carlin's opinion. My opinion on what? What are we challenging?
People were being shoved as the protesters tried to tear down the tent, a tent that wasn't their property. They were tearing down a tent with women and children in it, and the man who was coming at me, I think, tripped over the tent peg, fell towards me, and that's when I said, "You assaulted me." Now, to my mind, somebody tripping over a tent peg and falling towards somebody is not an assault. Therefore, why does he label it is? And also, is the editorial cut suspicious? Might this be an individual that is revising history? Right after that, he sucker punched me. My guess is that he was on his way down. He grabbed me and started shoving me. I followed up again by asking Crowder...
Hang on. Sorry. Emphasize. And thank you again for the super chats. Emphasize misgendering as really bad assault is already happening. It's not illegal for you to misgender someone, but I don't think it's very polite. But it's not illegal. People misgender other people all the time. I mean, do you live in Canada? It would be illegal in Canada, I think, but it's not illegal in the United States. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't think it should be illegal, but I don't think it's polite. I think it's rude. I think that everyone deserves basic respect and courtesy for how they want to be referred to. And if you want people to give you basic respect and courtesy, you need to give it to other people. But it's not illegal in the United States to misgender people. Now, you might get kicked off a social media platform if you run around doing that. Sure, that's true. That shouldn't be the way it is. I don't agree with that. You don't need to convince me.
About the events leading to his statement, "You assaulted me," and whether it was possible the Percy Tony merely fell into him. Crowder stated at that point in time they were shoving me. It had been shoving with me saying that's an assault and him getting up and hitting me. That shoving was immediately followed by a clear attack, as the video indicates. It's important to note the context surrounding the shoving and assault. While the shoving and punching were occurring, protesters were pushing down a tent filled with people. Some individuals in and around the tent were trying to stand their ground in an effort to protect...
Hang on. I keep interrupting him. I'm so rude. Studio Owl says, Carlin, if you need any help with your work, I will help you in any way I can. Grunt work, whatever you have. I do appreciate that, Studio Owl. And I did see that, your other chats about me earlier. I do really appreciate it. We might disagree sometimes, but thank you. It's nice to hear.
Protect the individuals inside the tent and protect themselves. That fact means that the shoving was not some form of mutual combat, but rather was a group of people peacefully assembled who were surrounded and assaulted by an angry mob. So this report from Forbes about his appearance at the 2012 union protest demonstrates...
I'm not sure I trust Forbes to report accurately on Steven Crowder's appearance somewhere. And I say that because, I mean, was it a contributor? Was it one of their actual staff writers? I was a contributor to Forbes for like a while. And you know what being a contributor to Forbes is like? It's like being a blogger. You can write whatever you want and you just put it up yourself, and there's no edit or anything because they're just trying to feed as much content into their site as possible, really. And so if that was like a report written by a contributor, then I don't trust it. If it was written by a staff writer, maybe just like a smidge more credibility, but not because there's consequence to being wrong, I would think. Maybe not as a staff writer. Well, certainly more consequence than being a contributor, I'll tell you that. And so I would say like maybe just a smidge more credibility, but still not a whole lot. So I don't know. Do you get paid to be a contributor to Forbes? I mean, it depends on, you can get paid. I never made an exceptional amount of money from it because it depends on, it's like YouTube, you get paid per view, or they had a thing, and I don't know if they have it anymore, but when I was contributing, if you wrote a certain number of articles a month, you got like a flat fee for it. And it's not gonna like it's not gonna make you rich or anything. Like the reason you want to be a contributor to Forbes is that it's like a prestigious thing and it gets your name out there, it gets your work out there. I will say this though, is I don't actually think that I got much business from being a contributor to Forbes, but it was nice to have the platform. But I certainly didn't make a lot of money. I make significantly more on YouTube like today than I made as a contributor to Forbes.
It's a sense of entitlement to turn up and a lack of boundary recognition. Shows provocative behavior. But of course, he thrives on that provocative behavior in terms of what his YouTube channel is about. Has there been a revision of history? The evidence suggests that there might have been. And is what he's saying a denial of what's going on, and a deflection and blame shifting? Or is it simply the case that his presence meant that he was unfairly assaulted, and in the circumstances he was justified in speaking out about this? Some evidence forming already that shows some narcissistic indicators, which others are questionable. We'll continue to examine the behavior of Mr. Crowder. Join me in part 3.
See, now I'm wondering, because part 3 is only 11 minutes long. Now I'm wondering, has H.G. Tudor actually produced like a 12-part series? And he's only releasing them like piecemeal? That would suck. If he releases like a 12-part series about if Steven Crowder is a narcissist, and then at the end he concludes that no, Steven Crowder is not a narcissist, that would be kind of ridiculous. But maybe he'll wrap it up in this one. Maybe there'll be more tomorrow. Who knows? What if there's a part 4, 5, and 6? Maybe I will have to stream tomorrow. Or at least when I get back from the concert. Emphasize again with the super chat. I draw the line at the kid getting kicked out of the Pokemon tournament by a they them for a nervous laugh when asked pronouns, abuse of power by social manipulation. But again, emphasize that seems like an issue with the event. It's not a legal issue. It's an issue with the event. And so while I agree with you that they shouldn't be getting kicked, and I don't even know what you're talking about exactly, but like a kid shouldn't be getting kicked out of an event for not understanding they, them pronouns. Okay, fine. But that's not a legal issue. But I do appreciate the super chat. Thank you, emphasize. All right, let's dig into part number 3. I mean, like, maybe. That's that. Like, well played, mother effer, if that's the case, Donnell. Well played, mother effer. I will watch the whole 12-part series, HG. Jesus Christ. Siphon, $11 Canadian. I once heard from church going to hell under Catholic beliefs is rather difficult thing, as it requires you to actively hate God 24/7. Any less, even by a second, and you end up in purgatory. I don't know. That's interesting. I've never heard that before. It wouldn't surprise me, though. The Catholics believe some weird things. We're going to Boston in the afternoon. The doors open at 7, and I think it starts at 8. And of course, there's like an opening act, I think, and then we'll see Placebo, which will be great. And I'm going to be in the old people elevated VIP area with a private bar and a private bathroom, so I don't have to be down with the riffraff. Because I can't do it anymore, but I can still see one of my favorite bands live as long as I'm in the elevated VIP area with the private bar.
Steven Crowder, Narcissist, Part 3. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor, continuing my examination of evidence to determine what Steven Crowder is. We now turn to Newsweek.com with an article by Stephen Asarch from the 31st of May 2019.
He is. This is going to be like a 17-part series where H.G. Tudor is going to read every single article ever written about Steven Crowder. He is trolling us all. God damn it. I cannot believe I fell for this.
Where Steven Crowder incites homophobic harassment of Vox reporter, YouTube slow to react. Carlos Maza, a video journalist for Vox who hosted Strike-Through video series,
No. H.G. Tudor cannot take Carlos Maza's side. It will ruin everything. He cannot take Carlos Maza's side. I don't care what Steven Crowder did.
Discusses politics and news, has spoken up about harassment he's experienced from YouTuber Steven Crowder and his fans. Crowder has amassed more than 3.8 million subscribers since joining the platform in 2006 by touting an alt-right ideology and criticizing the left-wing media. Each of his videos pulls in hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of views from loyal viewers of his Louder with Crowder series. Crowder has made numerous homophobic remarks directed at Maza in his videos, smearing lack of emotional empathy, sense of entitlement, referring to him in at least 7 videos as little queer, and saying, "You're given a free pass to be a crappy writer because you..."
I mean, come on. That is not an indicator that he's a narcissist. That's just true.
You are gay. Carlos Maza stated, "Since I started working at Vox, Steven Crowder has been making video after video debunking Strike-Through.
If anything, this is proof that Carlos Maza is a narcissist because Carlos Maza is trying to get Steven Crowder canceled. That's a pretty clear lack of boundary recognition to me."
Your video has included repeated overt attacks on my sexual orientation and ethnicity.
Oh God, hang on. Colin, who is a bigger narcissistic control freak, Steven Crowder or Tim Pool? I don't know. I feel like this is a really great question. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me put a poll in the chat. I'm going to see what you guys think. I'm formulating my thoughts here, but I think this is an interesting question to consider. Who is a bigger control freak? Steven or Tim? Okay, poll in the chat. Let me know what you guys think. My gut says Tim, if I'm honest about it. My gut says Tim, and the reason I say that is Tim has more of the personality and the communication style that aligns with being an anal retentive control freak. And I've talked to Tim's sister enough to know that I'm pretty sure Tim is actually a narcissist. Like legit. I really, and again, I don't say that as a pejorative. I don't say that as an insult. I've just heard enough from Tim's sister to think that Tim is probably a narcissist. And I'm not convinced that Steven is. I think he could be, but I'm not convinced he is. Let's see. Votes coming in. It's looking pretty heavy for Timmy right now on who is the bigger control freak. I mean, do you guys know that, like, and this is public. This is not like private because Tim's sister has talked about it like publicly. Do you guys know, like, Tim freaks out if people touch his socks? Like, even if he has like left his socks strewn around the house, like when Tim's sister was living there, like she would go to like pick up the socks to be like a normal human being, and Tim would freak out at her touching the socks. Like, I'm sorry, that's weird. It's weird. It is. All right. It looks like 82% of you think that Tim is the bigger control freak. So that's going to be our answer for right now.
In a Twitter thread posted on Thursday night, Mazza explained that anytime Crowder talks about strike through on his show, I wake up to a wall of homophobic, racist abuse on Instagram and Twitter. Now, of course, it doesn't appear that Crowder is directing people to engage in that behavior, but given the fact that he has a platform, that he has millions of subscribers, he would know that people would be likely to act upon what he says, which demonstrates a lack of emotional empathy for Mr. Mazza and a lack of accountability for the power that
we should all have a lack of emotional empathy for Mr. Mazza. Mr. Mazza does not deserve emotional empathy. Mr. Mazza is a communist that was trying to get Steven Crowder canceled. We don't hate Tim. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. Hang on, where the heck? There it is. We don't hate Tim. We are just talking about our perception of Tim. I don't hate anyone. You're allowed to like Tim, but you can like Tim and also admit that Tim is a control freak, all right? We're not saying he's a bad person. We're saying that he's anal retentive.
he wields through his platform. The article continues by explaining that one tweet showed a barrage of text messages saying, "Debate Steven Crowder," sent to Mazza's personal number after it was leaked online. Lack of boundary recognition. Mazza's thread included a 90-second supercut of Crowder's videos from the past 2 years, in which he repeatedly mocked Mazza's sexuality, invalidation, belittlement, and his liberal views. In one of Crowder's newer videos, lambasting Vox's critique of how Fox News impacts...
It does not make someone a narcissist to have liberal views, or to mock liberal views, rather. I'm not suggesting that H.G. Tudor is saying that it makes someone a narcissist to mock liberal views, but come on.
The larger news cycle, he called Mazza a gay Mexican, gay V-neck, and says, "We just see your irony and mock you mercilessly for it." Insult, smearing. I created the video because you don't realize how constant and gross it is until you see it back to back, Mazza told Newsweek. I just needed to be able to show people something to say. See, this is happening. So much of being harassed is feeling gaslit about whether you're being harassed. The reason he created the thread was to get YouTube's attention after flagging multiple Crowder videos and seeing no results from the platform. I just got sick of it, Mazza said. It's wild that so much public pressure needed to get them to enforce their own rules. Mazza tells Newsweek that he first learned of Crowder in 2013 after he tried his hand at comedy and bombed at the American Conservative Union event. "I'm an easy target because I come off as stereotypically gay and make arguments about..."
Did Steven Crowder bomb when he did comedy at CPAC? I find that hard to believe, but okay.
Politics, Mazza said. "I think his fans come after me because they're just following the leader." He explained he believes that YouTube allows Crowder to remain on the platform because the company leadership is terrified of being accused of liberal bias and bigotry, tribalism, and bullying. It gets incredible engagement.
Hang on, we got another super chat from Emphasize. Emphasize, I do appreciate the super chats. "The last act of officials in a dying institution is to rob the treasury on the way out the door. Fun with Dick and Jane and The Hobbit portray this." Okay. I don't have anything to say to that, Emphasize. I'm going to have to take your word for it for right now. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. I want to see Not Gay Jared and Adam Krigler do a podcast about the toxic side of political commentary. It wouldn't be true. Adam is not going. Listen. Adam knows how to play this game, and Adam cares about playing this game. Adam is not going to tell you things that are true that would get Adam in trouble for saying publicly. Like, how long did it take him to work up to talking about Tim? That was like a Herculean goddamn feat. He was complaining for 2 years leading up to that. So I don't think that's gonna, but here's the thing, even if it did happen, you still wouldn't be getting the whole truth. You know? Because in this like content space, everyone is like hyper aware of like, I don't want to offend that person. I don't want to offend that person. I don't want to offend that person. I want to be on their show. I want to be on that show. I want to be on that show. Like, I don't give an F about being on anyone's show. I'm perfectly fine sitting here in my own little corner of YouTube and being left alone. So that's why I will tell you this stuff that other people won't tell you. But you're not going to get an honest perspective from people who are genuinely playing the game, because it would inhibit their growth, or rather, they perceive that it would inhibit their growth if they did that. Does that make sense? I mean, ask questions. I'll say what I think, you know? I mean, who knows? Apparently, HD Tudor is going to leave us all hanging tonight anyway.
They convinced I'm a monster, and I don't want to argue that I deserve to be treated with dignity. YouTube's harassment policy states that content that makes hurtful and negative personal comments, videos about another person, is not allowed on the platform. Massa called out the video hosting service in the Twitter thread for not only allowing Crowder to continue to make content, but also for making money off him.
Wait, I can report anyone who has made hateful content about me to YouTube? Seriously? Well, fuck, I didn't know that.
YouTube is designed to give these assholes a megaphone, push new followers in their direction, and keep them listening. It's a weapon, Mazza wrote in the thread. Crowder released a video response to Mazza's claims. Now, is this the fact that he feels justified in responding, or is it simply that he subconsciously is experiencing a threat to his control and therefore has to respond to it? He called the situation a giant corporate media entity trying to silence voices they don't like, and a war we will fight to the bitter end. He claimed his homophobic language was playful ribbing. Is this further belittlement and denigrating the individual through saying you're being oversensitive, or was he right? And insisted that it's funny, it's a comedy show. Let's be queer is harmless, and I enjoy saying it. In Crowder's eyes, it's NBC Universal versus you guys, referring to his fan base. This is David versus Goliath.
That's true.
He seems
I agree
spooked
with that.
by the reaction so far, Mazza said about Crowder.
I actually really like that observation. I hadn't thought about that before. Like, yeah, Steven Crowder is David versus Goliath in many respects.
Video. Crowder did not respond to Newsweek's request for comment. Is that the assertion of control by staying in a position of withdrawal? The similarly personal nature of the insults and attacks from Crowder and his fans are also troubling to Mazza. This kind of thing has become part of the job, and it really messes with my work, he said. I find myself constantly looking over my shoulder when writing scripts, when recording, trying to see if there's anything I'm doing that's going to provoke another Crowder response. It's fucking exhausting, and I hate how much mental...
No, Candace is absolutely 100%. There is no doubt about it in my mind at all. She blows out all of the indicators, and it's not even close. Candace Owens is a narcissist. I have heard plenty of stories that I haven't talked about publicly about Candace Owens behind the scenes. And I actually heard those stories before all of the public bullshit kept piling up after she joined the Daily Wire, because it's only gotten worse since Candace joined the Daily Wire. Candace Owens is 1000% a narcissist. It should, and again, I'm not saying it is an insult. It is what it is. It has to do with you know, how you were raised and how you were born, your genetics, okay, fine. Crowder, I could go either way. I think he displays some narcissistic traits. Is it enough to make him a narcissist? I don't know. That's why we're listening to this series. But I'm not convinced he's a narcissist. I think he's a comedian. I think he's an entertainer. I think he's a showman. I think that a lot of the things that H.G. Tudor has already talked about could be explained by saying he's an entertainer. It is what it is. And they're funny. And we all like Carlos Maza being called a lispy queer because, I mean, come on. He's a communist that tried to get Steven Crowder canceled. He damn well effing deserved it. I don't care if it's a smear. Well, I have been on record saying smear campaigns. Smear campaigns are wrong. But telling the truth is sometimes necessary. And I don't think that telling the truth is the same thing as a smear campaign. What's happening to Steven Crowder right now is a smear campaign. Steven Crowder pointing out that Carlos Maza is a gay communist who tried to cancel him is not a smear campaign. It is telling the truth. Carlos Maza is a gay communist who tried to cancel him. Like, you know, these two things are not the same. So I could really go either way with Crowder. But Candace, I am 100% sure about, and it's not even close. Philip, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the super chat. Crowder had a hard time with conversation. He gets rid of people who tell him no. Rogan interview with Crowder was better with Jared. It's worse now. I mean, that's also a good point. He gets rid of people who tell him no, but that could also be that. I mean, that's a lot of leaders do that. That's not necessarily exclusive to people who are narcissists. Like, a lot of leaders will do that. And it's kind of like, if you're like, he is the leader, he is the CEO, it is his show, it is his vision, right? And so if you're not on board with his vision or you're not doing what he wants you to do, then it's not necessarily narcissistic to fire someone like that. And part ways and let them go do their own thing. I don't know about the Rogan interview. I didn't see that. Emphasize, it's just a prank, brah. See, now we're trolling again, Emphasize. Now we're trolling again. Don't say otherwise. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Emphasize again. Sarcasm equals true lies. I rather like that, actually. Emphasize. Thank you.
Energy I waste trying to avoid abuse. It's like high school all over again. Maza has little to say to Crowder's fans. They're convinced I'm a monster and I don't want to argue that I deserve to be treated with dignity. There's furthermore, this time in December 2021, Mashable states Steven Crowder is one strike away from a permanent ban on YouTube after second suspension. You likely won't be seeing Steven Crowder on YouTube for the rest of the year. The self-described conservative comedian has once again been suspended from YouTube, receiving his second channel strike in recent months from the platform on Wednesday. According to YouTube's policy, when a channel receives 2 strikes within a 90-day period, they'll not be allowed to post content for 2 weeks. Considering Crowder received his strike on December the 15th, this means that his channel Louder with Crowder won't be able to live stream, broadcast, or upload new material until December the 30th. When a user receives 3 strikes within a 90-day period, YouTube permanently terminates the channel from its platform. Mashable has reached out to Crowder for a statement. Crowder announced the YouTube suspension on his December the 15th show, which was streamed on Rumble, a video platform that has become popular with right-wing internet personalities over the past year. Last night, YouTube sent us the second channel strike, Crowder stated on the show while showing his viewers the suspension message from YouTube. So this is going to prevent us from streaming on YouTube for the rest of the year. Is this Crowder simply pointing out an unfair channel strike against him? Or is it as a consequence of him feeling a threat to control by this channel strike and therefore has to respond on a different channel? The notification that he received, which he put up on Twitter, he stated, well, Rumble it is. And he showed a screenshot of saying, YouTube removed your content. Hi, Steven Crowder, YouTube wrote. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our hate speech policy. We've removed the following content from YouTube. The left hates Elon Musk because he's too based. Louder with Crowder. Is this an unfair
Really?
censorship? Or is it the case this is, again, an individual that speaks out in the way that he does, utilizing hate speech, which shows a lack of emotional empathy, a sense of entitlement, poor boundary recognition, and a lack of accountability
Are you?
for
Come
his
on.
behaviors? The suspension might have been merited, it might not have been merited, but it's another instance of where Crowder has used an online platform and has been determined to act in a hateful way towards somebody else.
See, and that doesn't mean he did act in a hateful way towards someone else. All it meant is that someone was offended about something that Steven Crowder said. I can't. Again, I think what HG Tudor is going to do, and we're going to find out in about 3 minutes, is that he's going to turn this into like an 11-part series about Steven Crowder, and he's going to read all these articles because he's researching him, probably because he would never lower himself to watch Steven Crowder unless he saw there was like a reason to lower himself to watch Steven Crowder. But I think this is not going to be like the final video, and I think we're going to have a cliffhanger, and he's going to draw this all out and this sort of thing. But I'm having a really hard time believing that. Do we know for sure it's an 8-part series? How do you know? I'm having a really hard time believing that HG Tudor is going to say that Steven Crowder is a narcissist because Steven Crowder got a strike from YouTube. And I say that because I know that HG Tudor is familiar with YouTube bullshit, because I'm vaguely remembering this. I think I listened to his videos about this when I first started listening to him. I think he had something with YouTube where YouTube deleted his channel or like took away his channel, and he couldn't get it back, and it was a big effing rigmarole for him to get the effing YouTube channel back. I don't remember exactly the circumstance, but I seem to. So what I'm saying is that HG Tudor is familiar with YouTube bullshit, and I'm sure he's going to work that into his calculations when he's thinking about Steven Crowder. And I think what he's doing is he's drawing his audience through this to teach them some of the things that he would consider and the characteristics of narcissism, because I think he probably thinks that he's going to get a lot more viewers, like new viewers that are coming to listen to the Crowder stuff. And by the way, you guys should listen to HG Tudor's channel for like other stuff too. Like really, like honestly, go subscribe to him. He will blow your effing mind. But I think what he's doing is he's using it as a teaching exercise, and he's saying, this could be this could be that, this could be an indicator, it could be that. But I don't necessarily think that the things that he's calling out right now, he actually thinks are narcissistic. I could be wrong, but I have a really hard time believing he's going to say that Steven Crowder being like getting a YouTube strike is really an indicator, like a real one. But maybe he's saying some people can interpret it like this, some people can interpret it like that. That's all I'm saying.
He stated at the time, as usual, they didn't provide any details for the suspension. He continued, it's one of those things where we could say, we could guess. I mean, take your pick. Although, of course, they did provide details saying which was the offending video. I assume that what he's saying is they didn't give particularization as to what it was about that video in particular which brought about the suspension, which, given my own experience with YouTube, would be commensurate with the way that they function and operate.
Told ya.
YouTube provided more details concerning Crowder's second strike and suspension in a statement to Mashable. We've issued a second strike to the Steven Crowder channel for violating our hate speech policy through repeated targeting of the LGBTQ plus community, said YouTube spokesman Jack Malone. Hate speech is not allowed on YouTube, and we remove content or issue other penalties, such as a strike when a creator repeatedly targets insults and abuses a protected group based on certain attributes, such as sexual orientation or gender identity and expression, across multiple uploads. So it would appear that his observations towards the LGBTQ community fell foul of the rules. This again would demonstrate a lack of accountability for his behaviors, an absence of emotional empathy. It also is demonstrative by targeting those individuals of a lack of emotional empathy for them. He may well see that he's justified in what he states. We don't know precisely what it was that was stated, and it might be, of course, that people are overreacting to it and are doing so in a sensitive manner. But the fact is that there are repeated instances here of him falling foul of the rules, which causes us to question his ability to be accountable for his behaviors. More evidence of narcissistic indicators, but we shall continue with our examination of Stephen Crowder as we move on from his violations of online policies
Damn it.
and to look at his dispute with the Daily Wire and also the threat of lawsuits with Candice Owens, alongside, of course, the examination of the video footage showing him berating his wife.
Oh, that's it for right now. Let's just, maybe he's posted more. Please post more. Please post more. Ah, not yet. Oh, well, God damn it. I guess, guys, we're going to have to wait in suspense to find out the epic conclusion of HG Tutors. This is going to be I think it's going to be like at least a 6-part series. Yeah. What a troll. Well played. Well played, HG. All right, guys, but I do hope you enjoy that, and I do appreciate his insight. I really do. So I recommend everyone check out his channel. His work is fascinating. If you have ever had a narcissist in your life at all, you will learn so much. And so I definitely recommend that people check it out. But guys, that is all I have. It is 1:20 a.m. I was supposed to write a socialist book list tonight. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And we will rest of your day, beginning of the day. And we will continue this series. We're following this through to the very end. I'm committed now. We can't give up. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.